guys, how's it going? I know it's been a while, but I'm finally back with a special car today, and this is my own 2014 Porsche Cayenne. And as you can see, it's pretty far from stock, so I'm gonna give it a full walk around tour, review my thoughts, opinions, its reliability, as we've had this almost 5 years, and I'll show you pretty much every detail, how I've loved it so far, and then we'll listen to it, because that's definitely something you guys will want to hear, and we'll take it for a short drive as well. So without any more suspense, let's go ahead, get started. As you can see here, this is the Porsche key, but you can actually interchange the standard plastic sides. So I just bought these cheap carbon fiber ones, and then the Porsche keychain. But it's standard black outside. I'll go over a lot of the mods I've done later, but obviously you can tell black wheels, tints, stuff like that. On the inside we have the full beige. So in 2014 they offered full beige and everything. Now they offer beige with the black dash, but I'm a really huge fan of this full beige. But let's hop on in, start it up. Key is on the left because in the old days of Le Mans, the famous race, the race car drivers would start outside of the vehicle, and allowing the key to be on the left allowed them to put it in gear while they started it, and therefore they were able to leave the line faster than a lot of the other manufacturer drivers. Now this is just a V6, as we'll get into later, but you might have heard in that startup it sounds a little different. That's because I put an exhaust on it. I'll go through that later, but alright, and with that, let's go ahead and walk around the exterior. I'll just turn on the headlights, front fog lights, and rear fog lights, and the hazards are right here in the middle. All 4 windows are fully automatic over here. Now, starting with the exterior, like I said, it's a black. Usually this Cayenne does not look this nice, because this is just the base V6 Cayenne. However, as you can see, I've gotten the wheels done in black. All of this I have done myself, except for the tinted windows and the tinted taillights, as you can see. But standard 18-inch wheels, which I've done in black. And then with Plasti-Dip, I've gone around and I basically had done gold accents around everything. I used to have it all around the wheel arches and plastic and everything, but I looked a little too much at that. I changed these side indicators to smoked ones, blacked out, and they're LEDs as well, different from the originals. In the front, this has the Porsche Dynamic Light System, PDLS Plus. This is not the LED matrix, but the lights do swivel when you turn the steering wheel. There's a cornering lamp right there. Nice LED turn signals. I've also done the gold along the front there as well. In the Cayenne Platinum, usually that would come as body color or silver. In ours, it was just plastic, so I think that's a nice contrast. Fog lights down at the bottom. Overall, it's a pretty aerodynamic SUV if you think about it. It's a pretty sharp front end for what it is, considering it weighs pretty heavy. It's over 5,000 pounds. Don't have the exact number, but nice spoiler up top as well, with the LED third brake light. Those 2 strips at the bottom, you see there are the fog lights, all LED lights. I've had it remove the badge as well. I think it's a cleaner look with it just saying Porsche. Of course, the gold accents continuing. This is also a neat little thing here as well. You can buy these for cheap online, little Porsche screws. It's a nice little touch. Standard exhaust tips, I didn't bother changing those. But you can get a little peak down there. That's not exactly the standard muffler. and we'll hear that later. But smoke tail lights as well. Overall, it's a pretty mean look for what it is. This is probably one of my favorite angles. Looks pretty mean. Alright, now let me take you guys through the interior. On the door panel, pretty simple. You have your nice solid metal door pulls. Very solid. Lock and unlock, mirror controls, power folding. All your 4 windows, window locks, and then your trunk opening and closing as well. We have the Bose sound system upgraded, so you can see their nice little accents here. Very good size door pocket. You can fit like 4 or 5 water bottles in here actually. It goes pretty deep behind there as well. Just get some focus. There's also a little ledge here for something or another. Down here, there's a little hidden compartment actually, which a lot of people don't know about. Same on the passenger side as well. Very nice door pulls here. I like how the speakers are integrated over here. Nice curve to the door. This is the standard piano black and silver trim. However, we do have the burl walnut wood steering wheel, which as you can tell it's very nice. Very nice touch to it. I personally like wood or solid wheels better than all leather, but that's just my personal opinion. Down here, of course, we have the light controls, parking brake, the key, nice air vents here as well. Usually these gauges also do not look as nice. It's just like this black plastic. However, I got these nice silver gauge rings, which kind of match along with the silver trim here. I think it's a pretty good fit and just gives a little bit better aesthetic looking when you're driving down along the road. Very nice steering wheel. A lot of controversy over these paddle shifters, because this has the 8-speed Tiptronic, so you can downshift or upshift on either side. A lot of people like the regular paddles, so I think in 2015 onwards they changed the Porsche steering wheel and Cayennes to have the up and down paddle on each respective side. However, this is kind of nice. You can kind of drive in manual mode with one hand, but I can see how real paddles are a little bit more to be desired. Volume button here. This is a pretty cool button that Porsches have. It's pretty much a customizable multifunction key button you can change in the settings there, which I'll go over in a second. Pick up your hands-free telephone, obviously your turn signal, high beam, cruise control as well, your wipers in the front and the back. You also do have headlight cleaners, which are pretty cool, headlight washers. The car is pretty clean, so I'm not going to demonstrate that and get it dirty with fluid everywhere, but I'm sure you can imagine how that works. Obviously tilting telescopic steering wheel. So if we go into this gauge, it's all controlled by this little scroll knob here, and you click to enter, back to press back. So let me just zoom in here. You have your basically your readings, which you can customize, your different messages, service interval, for example. You can check your oil level, speed limit settings. It will warn you if you go over that speed limit. In the settings, you have a lot of stuff. You can customize that original screen I was just on. Yeah, which is all of that. You can change these little top and bottom things to display whatever. This is everything that's in the menus. And then the brightness, of course. Date and time, obviously pretty standard. That's the assistance system for the lane departure warning, which is right here. You can activate it or deactivate it. Your lighting, like delay, stuff like that. Your wiper automatic, stuff like that. Locking's pretty simple. Air conditioning settings. The steering wheel operation is where you have the setting for the multi-function key. You can choose it to be a function of either something in there or something in here. So we just have it set to repeat the guidance instructions, because there actually is no button for that. And I usually just keep it on silent so I don't have the navigation constantly speaking aloud to me. So if I want to hear, I can just press that button real quick. Volume units, stuff like that. Then we have the tire pressures right here, and you can actually pretty cool adjust it based on what kind of tire size and you have. Yeah, then you have your recent trip info, last 10,000 mile info, and then if you have a destination put in, it'll be right there. Your telephone settings, and then you have a map, which is also pretty cool. You can zoom in and out, which is nice. The new Cayennes have a full digital cluster right here with everything on the sides in digital and just the tachometer in the middle. However, I really do like all the gauges, but so is the way with progressing technology in cars. Top speed of 150. I have not hit it, but I can say I've hit 6 miles an hour slower than that, so I'm pretty confident it can do 150. Nice little clock in the center here with the air vents and speaker. Everything is designed really nice, like cockpit feeling in this car. Same with the vents here, this whole center stack. A lot of controversy over these buttons here by journalists and everything, but first piece of advice, don't listen to journalists, because they have a car for what, a week maybe, and they change it around. They don't, you know, they don't live with a car. So living with a car for 5 years, it's very different than just reviewing or testing a car. So with that in mind, these buttons are like the best thing in the world. All the cars that have changed to everything in the display, it's so complicated. Here, if I want to just, you know, turn up the fan, temperature, heated seats, something, change the zones, AC, defrost, everything like that, sync, recirculation, same for the passenger. It's all right here, very easy, very accessible. Same with all these menu buttons here as well. Nothing, you don't have to fiddle through the screen or anything like you have to do in a lot of cars nowadays. However, there still is a lot in the screen, which I'll get to in a second. But these buttons, that's almost like muscle memory too. When I'm just driving, hands on the gear lever, you can just like keep your eyes on the road and you know what each button does basically. So I like that. I like how Porsche has kind of modernized that with their new glass display with the haptic feedback and everything. It still has like buttons per se, but they're not like actual physical click buttons. It's just a glass panel, which is nice. So in that, I think Porsche has always excelled. A lot of cars, you just have to like, even the AC settings are through the screen, which is a pain sometimes. You can see we also have this wood gear selector here. Standard, it comes in just like this silver all the way atop where this wood is. However, I bought this after as a tech equipment accessory, which is basically accessories that Porsche offer after you buy your vehicle. Say you couldn't get an option, or you bought one off the lot that didn't have a specific option, because Porsche has a lot of options, and you can customize and pick and choose and build your car based on how you want it. But if you want to get a better deal, sometimes it's better to just buy it off the lot and buy these options later. So for example, it's a very nice touch. You touch it all the time when you're driving. So I think that was a worthwhile investment. Otherwise, we still have the standard piano black trim here. Very nice feel to it. You just push this button in, put it into drive, manual mode. Very nice tactile feel. And reverse, you have this rear view camera with sensors in front and back as well. I don't know if it'll go off. There's nothing really behind us. Yeah. It's also pretty good at recognizing curbs too sometimes, so you can see how that works. Like I said, you have all of that up there. Hill descent control for your off-road settings, which are here. I think in the new Cayenne you have to get a specific package for have off-road settings. Correct me if I'm wrong. Button here, it's pretty simple. You push it up for once. It's an off-road mode, which basically reduces the sensitivity of the throttle and steering. It also changes the shift points, increases the shift points so you stay in a gear longer. And then what's really cool is if you push it up once more, you see that lights up. And we have a center differential lock as well, which is very cool, which means the front two wheels and the rear two wheels will spin at the same speed, 50-50% power distribution. Here we have a sport mode, which I almost always drive with it on. However, just a message just came up. You can't put in off-road mode and sport at the same time. Your traction control here. Very nice grab handles, very solid. 2 cup holders here. That's probably my only complaint about the car. These cup holders are very shallow. You can see when I put a water bottle in them, barely even holds them. So if you go around a corner real quick, as you can see, it falls over very quickly. So no grande Starbucks drinks really. Gonna have to get talls, or otherwise you're risking it. The center console is slidable, so you can have an armrest as you drive to make it a little bit more comfortable. Otherwise, pretty decent size, just random stuff in here, USB outlet. Yeah, there's also a 12-volt power outlet and an aux port as well. In the glove compartment, pretty standard stuff, not that big really. There's a little vent up there to keep it cool with the AC. Up here, have some microphones, turn off your parking sensors. This at night, which I'll put in a clip. This basically, there's ambient lighting. This turns that on and off. Rear light, garage home link, reading lights here. Pretty decently bright. And then your main lights here. Rearview mirror right there. Pretty nice sun visor mirror setup here. And obviously you can put this off to the side and you have a second one here. In which you can also, seems like you can clip things, which is nice. Standard sunroof, although the nice part is you open it once, it opens up to the standard size, and then if you click it back once more, it actually goes fully back. So you actually do get, like, you know, the full width of the sunroof. It's not impeded a little bit like it is in normal cars. And then this comes back with it, and you can just close this. Little vents here so you can leave it tilted open if the weather is not so great. Now going into the infotainment screen, the PCM as they call it, Porsche Communications Management. You basically have basic buttons here to go through all the main categories. Your different media settings. Source is kind of the same thing. You can choose between each. Media is for that, obviously. You have your sound settings. So this whole side is basically your media settings. You have your source, your track, seek. This increases and lowers the volume. If you press sound, you can adjust your bass, treble, surround sound, all that. Your telephone settings. Mine's not connected at the moment, but usually it automatically connects. For the map, also pretty cool. Nothing to see really right now, but it's from bird's eye view, so you have the little sky there. You can change it to north up. Well, you have to change it out of bird's eye view. Sorry about that. Which you can do with these little settings here. This shows you if you have a destination. This will give you the overview. This will show your destination. And I'm not actually sure what this one does. Never really had to press it before, but yep, there's that. If you go into info, if you press info on any category, pretty much there's a whole nother menu. So your XM data service, which is pretty cool. You can check your stocks. You can check your weather, your sports. Well, that's pretty simple. You also have option, if you click option here, there's a redundant button. You can do that. You can set your map, which is pretty cool. The layout. So there's a lot of different options here. Yeah. So there's a lot to play with in there, which is nice. Obviously the new Cayenne, the whole screen is so much better. But for 2014, well, this model came out in 2012, so for 2012 it's a pretty good screen. A lot of functionality there. Yeah, so with that, I think we pretty much covered the entire front. And let's go ahead and check out the back seat now, shall we? So back seat, nice same trim, nice little door handle, window switch, speaker, a little door pocket here, not that big. Let's hop on in though. Nice, which is pretty cool, is a nice little ashtray here. Never been used obviously, but one on each door. That's just a pretty cool little touch, I think. Also same grand handles. So I'm sitting behind myself. I'm about like 5'10". You can see I have like plenty of room. I can put my feet under the seat. You might notice that's an interior alarm sensor, which you can turn on or off if you want. But yeah, space is plenty. I have like, I don't know, like this much headroom, so more than 6 inches, I would say. Nice little storage pocket here. We don't have any heated seats or 4-zone climate control because I keep this car myself. I go to college, so nobody really ever sits back here except for my friends. So they don't really need that. But nice little storage compartment there. 2 12-volt power outlets. You do have vents, which is nice. Overall, it's pretty comfortable. It's a little stiff. One thing I forgot to show is you do have this lever here, which will recline or fold the seats, which I'll show in a little bit. In the middle here, you have this little pull down, pretty standard, just 2 cup holders. On the roof ceiling here, you have your light, same LED. Never was able to figure out really what those are, but anyway, nice little coat hook, grab handle, and yeah, everything in here is styled very well. You know, the doors, even down to the shape of the headrest of the seats. I mean, this look on the interior, you can really see how it looks like a cockpit and has that kind of feel to it, which is what Porsche was best at in this time period, I think. But yeah, plenty of space, as you can see back here. Also another hanger hook right there. Let's go ahead and check out the trunk space, shall we? Just a button under there. That's where your rear view camera is as well. But pretty decent trunk space. Our Mercedes ML does have more, but behind there is your fuse box. Sorry. A little nice storage here, some random stuff. I usually do have a cargo cover that goes across there, but for extra space, just took it out. More little speakers in here, which is nice. Solid metal. I don't know if you can hear that tie downs. Like, that's solid. Very sturdy. Another power outlet. Under here you have your spare tire, which, yes, in Cayennes, I don't know about other Porsches, I would assume so, but they are orange. And they come deflated, but underneath all this stuff you do have a tire inflation system. Jack right there, but you always have Porsche roadside, so you really never need to do that yourself. But obviously the trunk opens pretty high, so if you do park in a parking garage, which I do at school in DC, you can run into issues with that height, but which is nice is if you just bring it down a little bit, hold this button, you can see it's just been programmed. So now the highest that will go, we just open it again, is just about that high, and then obviously you can put it back up, program it again, and now it'll open to that height. I put this 4-paw here, as you might have noticed from Paul Walker. When he passed, was a big fan and have met him before. I grew up with his Fast and Furious movies, so that was big for me. Also done this gold trim down there as well. But let's go ahead and check out the engine. Handle right here. This is a 3.6 liter V6. I'm not too sure on the exact numbers, but all you need to know is it's pretty much 300 horsepower, 300 pound-feet of torque. And it's not like a lot of other German cars like BMW and Mercedes where the torque comes down low. This engine loves to rev, and most of the horsepower and torque are probably higher up in the power band. But, you know, at least they show some of the engine. There's plastic, obviously, but it's not as absurd as it is in a lot of cars. You can see the suspension down there. Very nice power plant. And you can tell, especially with my exhaust now when we drive, which you'll find out in a second, that this engine has really come to life by the exhaust, so you can tell it's a very, very well engineered exhaust. But with that, let's just give it some revs, shall we? Looks beautiful at night. We have this ambient lighting up here as well. You can turn on and off, and that turns on and off the lighting on the door sides as well. And these are not usually red. I installed these myself. They are usually just a regular, you know, white or yellow light color. All of these illuminate super clearly. Also have a light and clock, and the gauges look spectacular as well. And you also do have lighting in the rear as well on the door panel and in the storage cubby. And when you open the door, the light is very bright. Illuminates everything. You also do have, as you can tell, the reading lamps here. You can individually control the rear lights, or turn on these lights manually. Now when we check out the exterior at night, I also did install these Porsche spotlights. They are starting to fade a little bit after a couple years. Also in the back, they're a little different, a little clearer. But yeah, very, very nice design on the taillights. As I mentioned earlier, these are amber, nice color. These are with the headlights off right now, so these are the daytime running lights. I mean the parking lights, sorry. And then turn on the headlights, and I'll just turn the steering wheel a little bit. As you can see, that side light turned on to illuminate a little bit more. That's part of the PDLS package. Also turn the hazards on. The PDLS package is the Porsche Dynamic Light System. Has upgraded lights, automatic high beams, as well as that light over there, which illuminates this area, which is very helpful. There are your turn signals. I love this color of yellow. Very bright lights, nice design. And same in the rear as well. Very cool design. All right, well, let's go ahead and take it out for a spin. And to drive, I always drive in manual mode, sport mode on. As you can see, we're on some gravel stone here. But it handles it pretty well, even if you take it off sport mode. Pretty smooth. Hands off the steering wheel. No issue. Sport mode back on. As you can see, I accidentally just pressed the traction control button there, but you actually have to hold it down, which is a nice safeguard. I'll leave the window roll down a little bit so you can hear some of the car. Although sometimes when you're driving fast, it's louder inside the car itself. Although there's quite a bit of sound deadening. And I came to a pretty secluded area here, and kind of in the middle of nowhere, so we can kind of test it out. Put the window up. You can hear it a little better with the windows up. Give it a nice little go here. And stops on a dime as well. That we were on, nice little stretch. I believe it's like it's over a quarter mile. By the time you have to brake, it's probably about a quarter mile. So that's where I go test a lot of our cars. That's where I hit my personal best 0 to 60 in the Corvette, 3.7 seconds. In here, the best 0 to 60 I've had is 6.5. Porsche claims it's 7.1, but Porsche is always a little optimistic. I mean, a little pessimistic in, I guess, what they report. really when you're driving around everywhere, you never really need to go above 4th gear. If there's some higher speed limit roads, maybe 5th gear, but you can see we're in 5th gear now, 50 miles an hour. And it's still pretty quiet, even though it's loud when you're on the throttle. And you do have to keep it a little bit higher RPM because, like I said earlier, there isn't that much down low torque. You can see, well, let's see, 6th gear, 50 miles an hour, foot to the floor. My foot is to the floor, and you can see it barely moves. And as you can see, I've been driving with just my left hand pretty much, and I've just been shifting with this paddle here. So you could probably tell while driving that there's a lot of glare on the glass, on the gauges, the windshield, the windows even, especially because they're tinted. So, and that is the main reason that Porsche decided to go with now a black dashboard and black top with the Mojave beige. However, I kind of like it all beige, but you know, I guess their lawyers had to take care of that issue. They had some complaints and stuff. I'm just gonna make a quick U-turn. Turning radius is very good. See in this roundabout how well it takes it. No tire squeal, no drama. I didn't even look at the speed, but that was probably somewhere around 30 miles an hour, 35. Didn't want to do too fast in the middle of the day. Could be other people around, but then you see you can throw it in 8th gear and you're just cruising. No noise, no drama. You can see my MPG has probably not been that great. 16.2, actually that's pretty good. It's been worse before. Usually around the city, I average somewhere around 10 to 13. Although, yeah, sorry about that. Had to let the engine speak for a second. But, you know, I've seen up to 24 on the highway if you're not in sport mode, just cruising 8th gear for long distance. But usually somewhere it's around the high teens, I would say, mid-teens, if you're in sport mode, which I always drive on, because the throttle response is pretty soft. I would say it's just not that great in sport mode. I mean, not in sport mode. Steering is pretty similar, a little softer. Suspension is a little softer, but not really noticeably different. Right around 4,000 RPM, you can see it just has this wonderful harmonious tone that Porsche naturally aspirated engines are known for, if you take a listen. Alright, well, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. So some of my thoughts over the last 5 years I've owned this car. It's been a hell of a car. Not really any issues, actually none at all. Somebody reversed into the front, which messed up the parking sensors. But so after getting repaired here and there, we sometimes get an error message, but that goes away. So actually from the manufacturer Porsche itself, there have been no issues. Obviously, which I really recommend doing, like what we did with this car is we bought the last model year of the product, in which it's usually the best. All the bugs and kinks are worked out. For example, this particular 958 model is what it's called. That was from 2012 to 2014, then they refreshed it in 2015. So the 2012 models did have some more problems than the 2014s, but I mean overall it's a pretty solid car, knock on wood. Handles very well. This doesn't have any of the optional performance upgrades, stuff like that. The thicker tires do give it very good grip, which I like. Although they're not as aesthetically pleasing as bigger wheels and tires, but handles super solid. We have a Corvette as well, which I'll have a review and tour coming soon as well. C7 Stingray, and I can find myself taking a lot of corners faster in this, especially when there's adverse weather, than in the Corvette, because it just handles so well for what it is. It's an SUV, but at the end of the day, it's a Porsche. So they know how to make well-balanced cars, whatever it is. And aesthetically, I think it does the job too. Obviously, the sound really makes a huge difference. It really wakes the whole car up. But I mean, so we're trading it in this summer for the new Cayenne. So that's why I thought I'd make a last tour of this, although I never made a first one. But I loved it over the years, and I think we'll definitely have a Porsche Cayenne now because they're just like the best handling SUV for the money. So with that, I hope you enjoyed. I hope I convinced at least one of you out there to look into one of these. And I'm going to try to get back into making videos now. We have some cool cars coming this year. I have to review the Corvette, stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share the word. I'm just going to get back into it now. So take care, guys. Have a good one.